So you're in the hospital, you were shot yourself, and then you actually get arrested for the shooting?
Right. Like a couple days later in the hospital, they come chain me to the bed. They don't even tell me what I'm charged with. He just come in there. I see the handcuffs. I'm like, oh, I know what he finna do. He say something like, you're not charged. He said, you just detained right now. Like, damn. It's like, boom, I don't really find out I get charged with murder until I get to Fulton County, because they never told me what I was charged with. So when I finally see my charge, I'm like, damn, they charging me with murder. Like, it don't say first degree, it don't say this, it just say murder. I'm like, damn, boy, God real. Like, God that came through and dropped the case.
The situation surrounding Lul Timm, King Von, and several major figures in the rap industry isn't just resurfacing. It's escalating into something far deeper than music. What looks like a simple collaboration on the surface has opened up years of tension, unresolved conflict, and complicated affiliations that never truly disappeared. It all started when Mike Will Made It dropped a track on February 13, 2026, titled Rooms, featuring Chief Keef and NBA Youngboy. For the average fan, this was a huge moment, two influential artists finally coming together on a track after years of existing in separate lanes. The song hit Spotify and YouTube at the same time and quickly racked up millions of streams. It looked like a cultural win, something fans had been waiting on. But for people who understood the deeper connections between these artists and their affiliations, it wasn't something to celebrate. Instead, it raised serious questions and stirred emotions that had been sitting unresolved for years. To understand why this collaboration hit so differently, you have to go back to November 6, 2020, the night King Von was shot and killed outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge in downtown Atlanta. He was only 26 years old. What began as a confrontation between two groups in a parking lot escalated into a full shootout within moments. Fists turned into gunfire, and chaos took over the scene. 6 people were shot, and 3 of them didn't survive. King Von was one of those lives lost. The man accused of firing the fatal shots was Lul Timm, who was closely associated with Quando Rondo's camp. During the incident, Lul Timm himself was shot but survived, and while he was recovering in the hospital, law enforcement quickly moved in. The very next day, November 7, 2020, he was charged with felony murder and taken into custody. Because of the severity of the charge, he was initially denied bond and held in Fulton County Jail. Over time, however, the legal situation began to shift. In March 2021, he was granted bond set at $100,000 and released under strict conditions, including electronic monitoring. The case dragged on for more than 2 years, but in a surprising turn, no grand jury indictment was ever returned. On August 20, 2023, prosecutors officially dropped the case before it could go to trial, meaning there was no conviction and no legal resolution. From a legal standpoint, the case was closed, but in the court of public opinion, nothing about the situation felt settled. For many people, the narrative was already set, and that perception never changed. What makes the 2026 collaboration even more complicated is Lul Timm's connection to the 4KT group, which is closely associated with NBA Youngboy. Lul Timm wasn't just loosely connected, he was actively involved, appearing in videos, traveling with the crew, and publicly representing the affiliation. That connection is what turned the Rooms collaboration into something controversial. When Chief Keef stepped into the studio with NBA Youngboy, it wasn't seen by everyone as just a musical decision. To some, it looked like a bridge between two sides that had serious tension tied to a tragic event. That's why the reaction was immediate. Supporters of O-Block and those aligned with Lil Durk's OTF camp flooded social media with criticism. Posts went viral, comment sections filled up, and debates broke out across platforms. The main question being asked was simple. How could someone with Chicago roots and shared history in the same broader community collaborate with someone tied to a circle connected to King Von's death? From their perspective, it crossed a line that shouldn't have been crossed. At the time, Lil Durk himself was dealing with federal legal issues and wasn't in a position to respond publicly, but the reaction from his supporters made it clear how the situation was being viewed.
Yeah,
hey man, they might with it. They might with it. I don't know. Y'all gotta go to Front Street. Y'all gotta go to Old. If that's the case, y'all gotta go to all the block, all the sets. All y'all gotta go on Lemron, 300. Y'all gotta think about 300.
Then things escalated even further when Lul Timm appeared in a video, and claimed that he had a song featuring Chief Keef sitting in the vault. According to him, the track wasn't released yet, but it existed. That claim alone intensified the backlash. The idea that Chief Keef's voice could be on a track connected directly to Lul Timm struck a nerve with many people, especially those who still associate Lul Timm with King Von's death, regardless of the legal outcome. Even if the track never sees the light of day, the damage from that statement was already done. To fully understand the reaction, it's important to look at who Lul Timm is beyond just the headlines. Born in the late 1990s, he became affiliated with the 4KT group at a young age and was deeply involved by his early 20s. He wasn't on the outside looking in. He was active, visible, and closely connected within that circle. His name became widely known because of the 2020 incident, and despite the case being dismissed, public perception remained largely unchanged. For many people, the legal outcome didn't erase what they believed happened. Lul Timm also had other legal issues separate from the Von case. In October 2022, while still out on bond, he was involved in a high-speed police chase in Georgia that resulted in multiple charges, including drug and traffic-related offenses. As of April 2026, there have been no widely confirmed public updates showing final outcomes or convictions tied to those charges. Adding even more weight to the situation are federal developments connected to the broader conflict. In October 2024, several individuals with alleged ties to OTF were indicted in a federal case involving a murder-for-hire plot targeting Quando Rondo. The alleged motive was retaliation for King Von's death, but the attack resulted in the killing of Quando Rondo's cousin, Xavier Robinson, in Los Angeles. Prosecutors also made claims involving Lil Durk, suggesting possible involvement in coordinating retaliation efforts. These allegations elevated the situation from a local conflict to a federal-level issue, adding another layer of seriousness to everything connected to it. When you look at all of this together, it becomes clear why Chief Keef's collaboration with NBA YoungBoy sparked such a strong reaction. It wasn't just about music, it was about history, perception, loyalty, and unresolved tension. Another important factor is the relationship between Chief Keef and O'Block, which is often misunderstood. While both are connected under the broader Black Disciples umbrella, they are not the same group. Chief Keef represents Lamron, also known as 300, while O'Block is a separate faction based in Parkway Gardens. They operate independently with their own structures and dynamics. This distinction is often used by those defending Chief Keef, arguing that his actions are not tied to O'Block's internal conflicts. However, that explanation hasn't been enough to stop the criticism. The history between these camps also plays a role. Back in 2014, there were reported incidents involving individuals allegedly connected to O'Block and a property associated with Chief Keef. Reports suggested a break-in and an altercation that led to police involvement, along with separate investigations into shootings connected to individuals in his circle. While no major convictions publicly tied these incidents together, they added to an already complicated relationship between the groups. When you take all of these elements, the 2020 shooting, the legal outcome, the affiliations, the federal cases, and the history between camps, it becomes clear that this situation is about much more than a single song. Rooms might sound like just another track to some listeners, but for others, it represents something deeper, something tied to real events and real consequences. As of now, the situation remains unresolved in the court of public opinion. The music is out, the conversations are ongoing, and the tension is still there beneath the surface. What happens next will depend on how the people involved choose to moving forward. But one thing is clear: when history, loyalty, and music collide like this, the impact doesn't stay contained to just a song.